very well. Look, I'll be honest with the listeners. We've already spoken today, and that was streamed. Some of them may have seen it, but events, dear boy, events. So, I mean, we were going to talk to you ostensibly about the Champions League final and a few other bits and pieces. We now have to talk Harry Maguire and Lionel Messi, the other extraordinary news this evening. Can I start with the Harry Maguire latest? Because I'd say his life has taken a bit of a turn in the past week, which he wasn't expecting. So, guilty of aggravated assault, resisting arrest, attempted bribery by a three-member misdemeanors court today over in Greece. He's been given a sentence of 21 months and 10 days. That has been suspended, he'll be very happy to hear, because they are just misdemeanors and because of his clear criminal record. And Maguire has promptly responded to say, I've instructed my legal team with immediate effect to inform the courts we will be appealing. I remain strong and confident regarding our innocence in this matter. If anything, myself, family and friends are the victims. Gareth Southgate was out earlier on today at 2 o'clock, named Harry Maguire in the squad for the Iceland-Denmark games. Subsequent to the verdict, Gareth Southgate has withdrawn Harry Maguire from the England squad. As for Manchester United, they've released a statement strongly supporting Harry Maguire, saying he's pleaded not guilty. It should be noted that the prosecution confirmed the charges and provided their evidence late on, the day before the trial. It gave the defence team minimal time to digest and prepare. A request for the case to be adjourned was subsequently denied. And on this basis, say Manchester United, along with the substantial body of evidence refuting the charges, Harry Maguire's legal team will now appeal the verdict to allow a full and fair hearing at a later date. There we are. Whew, what an afternoon.
It's extraordinary. Now, there was a number of ways Harry could have gone once he found out that he'd been found guilty, after which seemed an extraordinary quick turnaround with limited opportunity to give evidence. And then he found out that he wouldn't have to pay anything, he wouldn't be spending any time in jail. He could have just said, nah, forget it, move on. And that's it. And do you know what? It would have blown up for a wee while and then it would have disappeared. But something else is going on. Something's rotten here. Something's amiss here. Because that was dead easy for him to do that, as far as I can see. But he said, no, I'm not having that. He wants to appeal it. And now, by appealing it, it's now an ongoing court case. And suddenly, you've got England's got a problem. Gareth Southgate, who was comfortable before, I have to say, as was I, with the position, almost storming the teacup stuff, suddenly it's not, because it's now live again. And because it's live again, and it's appeal, and he's been found guilty again, suddenly it will have legs, and it will have a lot of legs now. Now, why, you got to get your head around, why would his legal team do that? Because there's no, what's the downside? You can't go to Mykonos again. So what? There's other islands, you know. It's a weird one, and I don't know if it's the reason for it, but it sounds a wee bit like he said, I'm not having that. That's nonsense, that's trumped up. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking my clean record to be blemished. Again, we're in the dark here. Gareth Southgate spoke very well, or has communicated well about it, by saying he has limited information. He's obviously, like us, he's hearing two sides of the story. But a lot of the time I've had here footballers, and you and I talked about this earlier, you know, I'd just put my hand in my head and go, oh my God, who's making a backside of it again now? But this doesn't seem kind of like that. And particularly when you take into I think they agreed and accepted, beginning of the story is that, you know, his sister was attacked and she was injected with something. I mean, the fear, and collapsed. The fear of that, and then when they tried to get to the hospital, they'd end up via being stopped by the police and going to a police station. You can see where the panic comes there. And it looks to me and it sounds to me as if they're just, you might have certain charges, but they're grabbing stuff from everywhere, throwing everything, getting the book there, and just throwing everything they possibly can. It seems odd. It does. It seems odd. Now, I'm guessing Harry Maguire, like many of us, I would give, and I would argue me, you know, if I had seen my sister, what I thought might have been seriously ill after being attacked by people, and the police are having a dig at me and not going after them people, I get a bit miffed. I really would get a bit miffed. And it's an ugly position it's now kind of grown into. But there's a bit in me that if Harry Maguire, if it's purely a moral thing, he's not letting this drop, and it's going to make it worse for him, i.e. it's going to last longer. there's a bit of me that's saying, well done, mate. If you don't believe in this, you better fight it. And he is, by the looks of things, fighting it.
So your assessment of his appeal is not that he feels he should to be seen to be innocent and therefore not to, castigate himself any further. You think it's a heartfelt, I've been wronged here.
Right, possibly. There's another possibility, right? Okay, he behaved and his friends behaved dreadfully and were boorish and were attacked the police and put people in danger and all the other stuff that you said there. And then he finds out he's basically getting off with it with a suspended sentence. And how many people in that situation turn around and go, no, I'm not having that. I'm going back. I'm going to have another go. You think? That's not intelligent. Now, I tend to work in logic. I tend to work in, would a guy do that and think, well, I'll just throw myself back in that because they might have cameras and videos of what went on and I might get caught. And the other thing, he's got a legal team there who would say, wait a minute, why are you going back in there if there's any dubiety in your mind at all about it? So, I mean, again, I work in logic and I'm talking about these things and I'm thinking about these things, I'm thinking it through. And I just don't think it makes a hell of a lot of sense at the moment. Now, hey, anyone out there, if I'm proved wrong, I'm proved wrong. We've all been wrong before. But with footballers, I'll be honest with you, time and again, I've been out with them, I've spent time with them, I've had a skin full, and the behaviour is dreadful sometimes, and sometimes horribly illegal and definitely immoral. This kind of doesn't fit the pattern. It doesn't fit the pattern. The sister being there, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't fit the pattern for me. So that's why I have a real discomfort about where this is at the moment. And add on top of that, I mean, which is the weird thing is, I spend every year I go to Greece, I go to Greek islands. I love the Greeks, I love the Greek islands, I love the people. That's why I go there every single year and have done for the last 25 years. And I find it astonishing that this would actually happen in that situation. But as I say, I don't spend a lot of time with the Greek police, I'll be honest with you. It's the others, everyone else around I'm fine with. This is, for something that I thought would go away, we had a chat earlier, I thought this would go away quickly. And I still think it probably would have if Harry would have just dropped it and let it go. But it ain't now. It absolutely isn't going away now.
No, it sure ain't. Please let me go. I am very rich. I can pay. I'm the captain of Manchester United, one of those headline-grabbing comments that he allegedly said, and he denies. His friend, Ashton Morley, was in the court today, and as was Maguire's father, by the way, just for people who are probably catching up in this story, because I think I was in this bracket anyway. I'd seen the headlines and I was like, some kind of kerfuffle, Maguire, Greece, it's much ado about nothing. I didn't know we were headed for this situation, but Ashton Morley, he was called by the defence, and as you mentioned, Maguire's sister Daisy, her eyes were rolling back in her head. He said she'd been injected with something. So the group called the driver of their rented van to take them to hospital. Then they found themselves being driven to a police station because there were undercover officers directing the bus driver to do that. And then he talked about a moment where the group, he says, thought they were going to be kidnapped because men came on the bus. They were obviously not in uniform. Our bus door opened. 5 or 6 males tried to force us off by physically pulling us. And presumably at that stage, the arrest happens. And then Maguire's not best pleased that he is finding himself being arrested and his sister has been injected with something. And then there's the alleged attempt to bribe his way out of the situation, which he denies, and it all kicks off. That seems to be the flow of the night, in so much as you and I, who were not there, can piece it together.
And it doesn't sound like Harry Maguire was out with a bunch of his mates, getting drunk, being leery, attacking folk in that sort of way. It's not that type of story. And that's why there's a real discomfort. And I don't think the police are even saying it's anything like that type of story. And I have to put myself in that position. I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy, but if someone has tried to attack and inject my sister, and I then get people aboard on my bus, I'm heightened. I'm willing to fight this off. I'm willing, because you're in a foreign country, you can't be sure. You've already had a group of Albanians attack you already. Who do you know? You just don't know who this is. So there's a lot of things. Everyone should be calm in certain situations, but can we all be calm in a situation that you think you're taking someone who you feel might be serious? And by the way, you have no idea what that could be in that injection. You have no idea. That could be lethal. So as far as you know, you have no idea. So that's in your mind, because you will take the worst things in mind. So you are in an utterly heightened state. And this, it strikes me as incredibly heavy-handed, just for what we've heard. And it's kind of odd the way it's blown out completely out of control for what was, you know, the party that would appear to have been wronged was the one that finds themselves getting pushed into this and found guilty in no time at all. With no, you know, someone else would make an argument before you jump in there. Would say, well, why didn't he just stay and face the charges? Well, I don't think he's really trusting law enforcement at the moment if they've done the previous to him. So you can see his point there.
Yes, you probably can. All right. And so Manchester United are going to support him, you would fully suspect. Do you think there's an issue now with him playing for England with an appeal hanging over him? I mean, I don't know how long the appeal takes, given the prosecution took no time at all. I mean, this seems almost unprecedented in terms of how quickly it all happened, and appeals for an adjournment to prepare for the trial by the defence were fell on deaf ears. So maybe the appeal takes a month, maybe it takes longer, maybe it takes less time. Can Gareth Southgate pick him to play for England with the press and the attention with this ongoing?
Well, he can. It's just whether he will or not. And the fact that he's so quickly released him from the squad just now adds a question. Personally, I would think until until it's blown over, I would be tempted to pick him. But the other thing is, if he's picked now and then somebody else does something which is quite gross, I mean, serious, and they'll just point and go, well, you let Gareth away with it. You know, Gareth, you get Maguire away with it. You're digging yourself a little bit of a hole, aren't you? And I'm not absolutely convinced that he wants to do that. And the games that Harry Maguire's going to miss are maybe games that England should win. And they've probably got enough quality in centre-backs to cope, although he would be the core one. It's a tricky one. For Gareth, it's a really tough one to decide on, I think, because he wouldn't want to let his player down, but he knows that this will haunt him in the future if someone else comes up with a problematic position. It's a really political position. My suspicion is, would have been beforehand he'll stick by him. Now he's dropped him from this squad, he probably won't.
Lionel Messi. Goodness me. I mean, this is just absolutely extraordinary. It's kind of surreal even to imagine him in a non-Barcelona jersey. So the news has come through. He sent a fax to Barcelona. He wants to leave the club. This is official, and this is not just a media story. This is real. According to RAC1 Radio, he had told Ronald Koeman when they met that he felt more out than in. And also apparently in that meeting, according to Spain's AS, the new Barcelona coach had told Messi that your privileges here are over, or something to that effect, which may not have been the best approach with Messi. Sid Lowe made the point, and it may all hinge on this. Messi's camp believes there is a clause in the contract which allows him to leave for free, as in, if he expressly asks to leave, then he gets to leave for free, and that is in his contract. Barcelona will insist he's still bound by a €700 million buyout clause. Now his contract expires next summer anyway, so that's all in the air. I mean, initial reaction to Messi officially sending that fax saying I want to go, I mean, it's just extraordinary.
It is an extraordinary story, and it came really quick with the new coach coming in. You know that politics are like, as soon as you go to Real Madrid and Barcelona, politics are incredible about ownership, presidency, and all that sort of stuff as well. That's all kind of weird enough. There's the discussion about whether he has put in that transfer request early enough. I think it was June the 10th it was supposed to be in by. But this is a COVID year, and it's kind of the competitions have all moved on. So that could go to the courts as well, and that could be a €700 million lawsuit, that one as well. All that stuff. There's a million things, and it's strange to see. Right, let's jump 2 steps ahead then, which is dangerous to do, particularly today. Where would it go? I've been thinking of that since it broke. I just thought, where'd you go? Now, there's plenty of clubs that have him. Let's be honest, there's lots of clubs that have him. Where would suit him? Right, so it's got 100%. It's got to be a top club, unless you go to Japan or whatever. Right, it's got to be a top club. Right, we get that. That's fine. So if it's a top club, who are the top clubs? Right, Bayern Munich won't take him. Right, because it's not that type of team, right? So take that away. PSG, maybe, yeah, possibly. Then you start looking towards England, and you think, not too sure actually. Who does take them? Because you need to play them every week. You can't leave them out, but you need to have a type of team. So City would possibly take them. Would Liverpool take them? With the style that they play and the tempo they stay at? And you start thinking, actually, I don't know, there's probably only 3 teams that can take them, that can afford to pay them, and I don't even know if they can, but can afford to pay them. What I do suspect, though, is he knows exactly who's going to take him. He found out, and he's been told who's going to take him, and he's kind of happy with it. But it'll all come down to this legal argument. Part of it will come down to this legal argument, whether he goes for free or he goes for 700 million. Because the money you make on paraphernalia surrounding him, you probably make that money back.
So you suspect he fully knows where he's going if he's gone to the trouble of putting in the facts. Yeah. Okay.
You would
so
not.
I mean, it's fair enough. So is it Man City or PSG? I mean, they're the only two for me. I was trying to think as well. I mean, I don't suspect Chelsea are going to nab him. So it's PSG or Manchester City. Is there any way, say you're Man City, for instance, is there any way in which, now it's a first-class problem to have, but Messi, to some extent or other, is a bit of a problem, i.e. where you play him, you keep him happy, and you're also going to be fast approaching the point in his career where he'll be droppable. And that's a difficult scenario to bring into play as well, no?
Yeah, and it brings many, many positives. And many of those positives are great play, the hype around your club, the sale you can make out of it. You are now a world-class club. If Man City are now officially, they are a world-class club anyway, but wow, are they a world-class club if they've got Lionel Messi for the last 2 possibly great years of his career. That's absolutely fantastic. But everyone else has to shuffle along. So you might be Kevin De Bruyne, but you're now second, by the way, mate. And the other side of it is Aguero's not getting any younger either. And do you really want to be surrounded by a kind of aging team? Considering what's happened to Manchester City this season, with the power and the pace and youth and the vibrancy of Liverpool, you know, that's what they're trying to follow. So you're right, there's a lot to take. When you get right down to it, you still take them, like. You would take them because they were a bunch of goals. You will take them. Of course you'll take them. But you'll take on a bit of baggage as well. And not even necessarily current baggage, but maybe some future baggage that might actually create a problem for you. The good thing, I suppose, with Pep is the style's right at Man City. You know, this is fine. It's okay. The style's perfectly fine there. He will fit in. You go and ask him to play left, right, 10, false 9. It's fine. You can do all of them. It's not a problem at all. And then you maybe start thinking, well, wait a minute, Aguero's getting a bit older. You know, Jesus is pretty good, but not the very, very best. Well, you stick a Messi in there, and there's another 30 goals for you. And another 30 goals goes a long way to winning things. And you'd get that out of him, you know, even for the last year or two of his season. Because remember, Manchester City have got the ball. They spend 80% of the time on the ball. He wouldn't have to do a hell of a lot running back. He wouldn't do it anyway. So if I was him, I couldn't see past Manchester City. I couldn't see past it.
And what would your thoughts on Paris be?
Is it the right time? Is it the right time? You know, because obviously you can start seeing, well, Neymar gets a move and he might go back over to Barca. That would suit him. It's a league that he wins every year. PSG will still win the league and he'll score a bunch of goals. Does he make them, after playing in a team that's just been beaten 8-2 by Bayern, he thinks he's maybe making a step up to a better team? But I mean, we had a quick chat earlier on about it. Is that really where PSG want to go now? Keep on spending those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds? Or do they want to start thinking, like, should we not be looking at not losing people like Kingsley Coman instead of going the other direction? But once again, they'll take him. They would absolutely 100% take him, and I wouldn't blame them for him. So, like yourself, you know, take the Japanese one out of it, or wherever you can go and just earn the dollars. Fair enough. But those two seem kind of obvious. Can you think of anyone else, Joe? Can you think of...
I saw Ian McCourt on Twitter, I think it was, make the point that apparently Inter Milan have had an ongoing diplomatically friendly relationship with the Messi family, and there's been lots of plumossing down the years. And God, if you're ever in the market, Lionel, think of us. And I think they've been making a lot of money, Chinese investors, in the last while. They cross my mind, but really, I see it as Man City and then PSG in that order. And after that, there are a bunch of reasons to rule out the next few in line.
Yeah, the next few in line after that is a bunch of reasons because they're going in a very different direction now, and they're not looking at that. They would love Messi 5 years ago, 4 years ago, great, but do they want him absolutely now? And what you would have to give up for that, because he's not. Yes, you might even get him on a free, but boy, you're going to pay a lot in wages, even though you get money back in sale of merchandise, etc. But you have to see your Liverpool. You have to almost change your whole concept in some ways.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they might say, well, Mo Salah gets tired sometimes. Well, we've got Messi. Do you really think Messi's going to go for that? I'll be a kind of stand-in for Mo Salah. Can I see it myself? And would Salah mind being the stand-in for him? I just don't know. I really, it's tough. But football surprises us, doesn't it? But that would be a real shocker if we went that direction, because that'd be a very... You don't think of gegenpressing and Lionel these days, do you? Doesn't really...
No. No, he ain't quite in the market for that. So where does he play for Man City? Is he on the right-hand side?
Everywhere. Look, Silva's just gone. So David Silva's gone. And he's a few years younger than David Silva. David Silva started left, started right, cruised into areas where it was dangerous, see where the problems were. And that is the fluidity of that. And remember, Pep's good at changing. They play 4-3-3 sometimes, but they play different systems at different times. And, if he's happy to play, there's been times when you watch Lionel Messi and he plays central. There's times when he plays left and looks phenomenal. But recently, for a long time, he played on the right-hand side, just fading into an inside right position for Barcelona, and scored a lot of goals from there. It kind of doesn't matter with him. I honestly don't think it matters with him anywhere that he can go and attack and cause trouble, because there's other players around him that will cover him. And they'll not necessarily even work for him, but will work with him. And I think that would work with Man City. There's a bit of you that, in reality, it's almost a hope as well, because it would be lovely to see him in the Premier League. It would be great to see him in the Premier League. Yeah,
it'd be magic to get 2-3 years of him on Match of the Day, and it'd be just amazing. And he'd do lots of brilliant things, which would still electrify even at his age. I just can't get my head around the fact that the Barcelona Messi thing is ending this badly, like this terribly. I mean, it's like, will he ever even go back to the Nou Camp in 20 years to wave to the crowd? He's so disgusted with everybody there. Like, that's the sensational aspect of the story. Whatever he does over the next 2-3 years won't define his career. But there was something very clean and romantic about him, a one-club man, Barcelona. It was like a career as close to perfection almost as you can get. And now this ugly finish to it. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, and it's horrible, but he might see it as uglier if you see a team that's just getting battered 8-2 together, that he doesn't rate what's coming in below him from his position. He must think, well, wait a minute, am I going to look dreadful for the last 2 or 3 years of my career? Or can I have this lovely glowing end somewhere? Because if you go to a Man City or a PSG, you go and win trophies. It's fine. You win trophies, you smile, you score goals, and you get more plaudits for the next 2 or 3 years. With Barcelona, if you don't win the Champions League and you get battered, really battered by some teams, and you don't believe what's around you is good enough anymore, that's kind of a hard thing to be in the midst of. There's not that many over the years that stick by that, stick by a thing falling while you are still utterly brilliant. I can see his thinking that. I absolutely can see. And I don't think it's money, by the way. I'm sure it's not money. Well, money will come in there, but I'm sure it's not the main thing. I think it's not number one thing.
No, it's pretty a great point. It flattens out the steepness of his decline if he's playing in a really good team. I mean, geez, as for Barcelona, like, the whole thing has gone up in flames. Luis Suarez greeted the news on Twitter by responding with 2 applause emojis. It's just...
He'll be putting in his transfer request tomorrow afternoon. But Suarez he's lost it. The pace is gone there. I mean, he's not of. You don't look at him in the same way. He's still a great player and he's still a good finisher. And what a good goal he scored in that last game there, when one of two of the 8 they scored against him. But in reality, at that level, when you're right going win Champions Leagues, a Champions League winning type team won't buy him now because he's not quick enough and he's not sharp enough as in that comparison. Get it all in context, he's still a great player, but not that type of great player. There's too many. You just look around and you look at, the Mbappes and the Gnabry's and the Sterlings and everything, the pace of these people, the pace of these players, the intelligence that's going around, and the fact that they're willing and hard workers as well, and the lack of baggage with most of them as well. That's the way everyone's looking at the moment at the very big clubs. So they're not looking at him. So him doing that applause, good luck, but it's kind of saddening. I think Suarez is more likely to go to an Inter or an AC than Messi. I think that's a better fit.
Yeah, agreed. And a very last point, I mean, maybe the worst way this could all finish for Ronald Koeman would be if Messi doesn't get his move and he's sat in the corner of the dressing room for the next year, disgruntled and unhappy. But for Koeman then, I mean, he's just left with an absolute mess, and Xavi waiting in the wings to come in. Like, Koeman will probably get a year tops and the whole thing will implode, you would suspect, the way it's going.
And that's the sadness of Barca, what they had been before, because it was this kind of brilliant thing that was all built for years. But clubs are like that. They go through periods and there will be fallow periods, and it's up to you to choose the right time when to come in. Xavi's not stupid. He'll choose the right time to come in, and he ain't now. Absolutely ain't now. Whereas Koeman, when's he ever going to get another opportunity to do that? He'll take that and grasp it as much as he can. But that job is absolutely gigantic. What you need is 2, 3, 4 years to build that job around. He's not getting that. There's no way in the world is he getting that. But could he turn it down? No, he couldn't turn it down either. It's saddening, yes, but could they be back? Well, I wouldn't be surprised, because in the heart of that club, somewhere deep in the heart, that looks quite ugly and gnarled at the moment, there's still something beautiful, and they might get it back. But it looks years away. It really looks years away. And with Messi leaving in this way, it looks even worse.